And this is why two people can hear the same insult, and one person can just brush it off, laugh it off, not care, not even react, while the other person might take it back home with them, may own the insult, may think about it for many days, many weeks, maybe many years. Ever feel like someone can just shrink you with just one comment like that? Here's the truth. No one can make you feel inferior without your permission. The thing is, most of us are handing out these permission slips to other people every single day. So here's the good news. There's a simple 3-step framework that I use with my clients and I use myself all the time that helps you break that loop so that no one can make you feel smaller ever again. Why listen to me? Well, I've spent the last 5.5 years working with high-level professionals, working with business owners, working with top families, working with people who look extremely successful on the outside, but secretly inside they feel small. And I've lived this myself, so I know exactly how it feels. So when someone makes you feel small by something that they say, it's quite often not what they said, but it's an echo of your own belief that's creating that feeling of inferiority. So I'll give you an example. I remember when I was 15 years old and I first started going to the gym, I was quite happy with myself. I remember I had been regular for a month, I've been training, I've been doing the machines. And then my trainer said, okay, it's now time for you to get off the machines and do something different, to change things up. And he gave me push-ups to do in my routine. Long story short, started following that routine, and one day I'm about to start to do my first push-up ever in probably years. Like, been years since I'd done. So just to give you context, I was very unfit at this time in my life. Like, I had not done any physical activity. I'd been sedentary for many years, never done any sports as a kid. And I'm going down to do my first push-up in the longest time. Only worked on machines in the gym for like a month or so. And I go down, I'm about to push myself up, and I can't do it. And something is happening around me that really triggers me, because I see this group of boys, standing a bit in the distance, and they're a bit older than me, and they're all kind of huddled around, looking at me, pointing at me, and like laughing, just laughing. And that made me feel so horrible about myself. Just broke me inside. But the thing is, that what they were saying, probably what I assumed that they were saying to themselves, and I assumed, again, I don't know if they were really laughing at me, but I assumed that they were. And what happened that day was just a reflection of what I believed, that everything up till that point in my life was reinforcing this belief that I had, that I was weak, that people could just destroy me if they wanted to, that I could just be easily thrown aside. And it really affected me. Even now, today, when I think about it, it's difficult. So that day, I made a decision that I would never ever feel that way ever again. And it's when I started taking my fitness and my strength as a man more seriously. But my point is that everything that causes us to feel inferior, or anything that affects us, anything that triggers us, it only does it because there is a kernel of truth. There is a belief. It may not be true that you are actually, for example, if somebody says, hey, you're ugly, it doesn't mean you're ugly. But it could mean that you have a belief somewhere deep down. Maybe it's subconscious, maybe you're unaware of it. You believe that you are ugly. And when somebody else says it, it's reinforcement for that belief. And that's what causes that feeling of inferiority. So it's not that person who is insulting you. It's you. It's you who's agreeing with the person. That's the real problem. And this is why two people can hear the same insult, and one person can just brush it off, laugh it off, not care, not even react, while the other person might take it back home with them, may own the insult, may think about it for many, many days, many, many weeks, maybe many, many years, and have a profound impact on their sense of self worth and their life. So here's the loop, the pattern that most people live in. Somebody says something to you, it triggers an old belief that's already inside of you. Now, you take that insult back and you replay it in your mind. You overthink it, you repeat it, you say to yourself that this is what's true, that I'm not good enough, and you keep reinforcing and strengthening that belief over time. The next time that you are in a situation that brings that same insecurity out inside of you, now you start overcompensating in some way. Maybe if you were going through the same thing that I went through, which is that people were pointing out that you were weak, now you overcompensate with strength. If somebody points out that you're ugly, then you overcompensate with your beauty, right? Or you start people pleasing, or but you overcompensate in some way to make up for that insecurity. And this pattern, this loop, is what keeps the whole thing alive. The more you overcompensate, the more you please, the more you work to avoid that feeling from coming again, the more power that comment has over you, the more power that person or that context has over you. And so next time when someone says you're ugly, guess what? You double down even more, work even harder. What's the cost of falling into this pattern? Well, at work, if you start feeling inferior and you don't speak up and you don't actually assert yourself and bring your ideas out, or ask for that raise that you know you deserve, or ask for that time off that you know you need, well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get overlooked. No one's going to pay attention. No one's going to give you that raise. No one's going to give you the time off. It's not going to happen on its own. And your career will begin to stagnate. At home, you're gonna start feeling resentful with this pattern, because if you allow people inside your own home to make you feel inferior, and probably they don't even know that they're doing it, they don't even realize that what they're saying is creating feelings of inferiority within you, but it's not their fault, it's actually yours. And so as long as you do not break out of the pattern of inferiority and actually speak up and talk about what your needs are in the relationship, or what you want, what your preferences are, the resentment will keep building. It's like you're filling this jar of water. You just keep filling it. Eventually it's going to overflow. That's resentment. And when resentment overflows, it becomes anger, it becomes fire. And that's when the machine guns come out and you start blasting all the people that are closest to you. I'm sure that you've seen something like that. And through all of this, right, these patterns that we automatically play out or let play out in our lives, the result is inside you're burning out. Right? Burnout is nothing to do with working too hard. That's a myth. Right? Burnout is when you're repeatedly banging your head against the wall in the same way, hoping that the door will open. Can't That doesn't work. If you want to open the door, you have to have the right key for that door that you use to open it. You need to know, if I turn the knob, should I pull? If the pulling doesn't work, should I push? The point is, using the same key for every door is not smart. It's not going to work. Using the same strategy for every problem, using the same pattern, for every problem is not going to work. You need a different strategy. You need a different key. You need to you need to think about turning the doorknob and pulling instead of pushing. Think of your self-worth as a bank account. And most people let strangers make deposits and withdrawals into their self-worth bank account all the time. If they get complimented, the balance of the bank account goes up. If they get criticized, the balance in the bank account goes down. But why would you give complete strangers, or any other person, the control of your bank account? Why would you give them your PIN? Would you do that in real life? Why do you do it with your self-worth bank account? So, how do you break yourself free of this pattern? Well, just like every pattern, it's about knowing what the pattern is in the first place. So I'm going to show you my 3-step framework to overcome this loop. First step is you have to know what your pattern is in the first place in order to catch it when it happens. The thing is that these are patterns that have been playing out for such a long period of time, sometimes since childhood. In fact, most of the times these patterns have been established back when you were 4, 5, 3, 6, 7 years old. And they've been around for a really long time. And knowing about them isn't enough, but knowing about them does help you catch yourself in the act. The first step is find out what your pattern really is. Now, if you don't know what your pattern really is, I have an assessment that you can use. So if you go to the description of this video below, click on the link and take that assessment. That assessment will tell you about yourself in a way that you cannot even imagine, so accurately. It'll tell you exactly what patterns you have and what those patterns look like when your state of mind goes from healthy to very healthy or healthy to below average levels of health. And you'll see more about that when you take the assessment. But the whole point is that when you take that assessment and you realize what your patterns are, now you can actually catch yourself when you see those patterns playing out, right? So that's the first step. The second step is the flip. What is the flip? Flip is very simple. When someone says something that makes you feel inferior, the first thing you have to ask yourself is this really true? Or is this just the reason it's affecting me is I believe it's true, but it may not necessarily be true. Like, is this real or is this a story? And the difficult part over here when you ask this question is to not get carried away by grabbing the insult and just owning it, but rather somebody hands you the insult, you take a look at it, and before you eat it, you want to just see, like, do I really want to eat this? Like, do I really like this? And if this isn't looking good to you, you can just toss it. You don't have to take it. And so it's about being curious with what's happening inside of you and what's happening in your life, rather than getting carried away with it. It's almost as if there was another version of you that was observing what you were feeling as you were feeling it. Imagine you're watching a movie of you as you're living your life. And when someone throws the insult, you kind of see the whole thing play out. And you want to think about what your thought is about the thing that's going on in the movie. You want to think about what it is that you're feeling about the feeling that you're feeling when someone insults you. And what this does is it creates a bit of distance between you and that insult. And you have a moment to see if you really want to let it land or not, that you really believe that this is true or not. 7, 8 years ago, I remember I was working for a company, and I was leading a team of about 20, 30 people. I was helping with delivery with the client. And I remember sitting with my boss, and he was really like, looking at my work and saying, you did a good job here, you did a good job here, you did a good job here. But Jay, he said to me, Jay, you are never going to be good at bringing on new clients. is you just don't have it in you. Like you don't. I don't think you can ever, be good at sales or business development. And that was true at the time because I didn't have any evidence of you know doing any of that. And this wasn't an insult, but it was a critique, and it cut me. I felt so horrible about myself. I somehow caught this and I flipped it. And I said to myself that I am going to be the single best person in sales and in business development. Fast forward 2 years, I started my own company and I did over $200,000 in revenue in my first 2 years. So it was the second year of operation where I hit that milestone. It was through sales. That was a wonderful experience for me. That was a complete game changer for me. That this whole framework, came from that one experience that I had. Here's the thing, people don't make you feel inferior, your patterns do. If you can break your old patterns, then no one can ever shrink you ever again. If you like this video, first of all, please go ahead and leave a comment on the video because it really, really is nice to read your comments. Second is do the assessment that I was talking about earlier. The pattern assessment is amazing and it'll help you in so many areas of your life. It's already helped thousands of people. And if you're looking for a great community to help you work on yourself, right, for inner transformational work, to help you learn more about human relationship dynamics, then go to the description. There's also a link to a community that you can join. It is free for now, at least at the time of recording this video. So take advantage of that. I hope this was helpful and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.